What if Civilization restarted series? And as we know, there's been a lot of expansionism lately across the area. Well, the Green Nation, not wanting to be conquered by the Red Nation, goes on a bit of their own conquests. They go against the, what's this color? Blue? Like a dark aqua blue, maybe? The Green Nation conquers. Well, it's more like a cactus green, I feel like. Well, they finally start making an impact. The nation that they're about to crumble does try to resist, but their resistance is basically in vain as they fall. So now we got two nations that could be strong in this area, which is good, I guess. Well, yeah, that's great. They're now being divided into two massive nations. One to the north, one to the south. They both are massive. Now, this nation, the Beige Nation, is not very popular. And well, you still got a few others. Not the Hut Nation. That nation's disliked by most of its neighbors. And well, this Green Nation decides it's time to form an empire. As they invade the, what's this color? Gold, dark gold maybe? Or brown? Or gold brown? And well, the collapse starts happening. Well, they manage to conquer some land. They stop here because they're not ready to continue this expansion. But this nation decides they want the old, strong Green Nation back. Yes, they decide that. They become it. They declare themselves the Green Empire successor. And well, they quickly invade this without much resistance in this area. They're not getting much resistance, but they are getting quite a bit, but not strong resistance. No one's strong enough to stop this. With them doing this to gain power over this area, this peninsula, which they are a big peninsula to us, but I don't know what they have it called. And well, this nation finally decides it's time to take out that nation. Well, they quickly occupy the key areas. And this nation is no longer there. That's a Purple Nation conquered them. And then the Purple Nation decide to conquer that nation, which goes quick. As they have expanded greatly, now they have more enemies. Now this nation decides not to expand really. And well, this nation collapses into a few nations. The nations, well, one goes up to here. There's one that's over here. And then a nation here, and then in this area it splits into two. Well, as we can see, this nation stays the successor, basically. And then, yeah, you do a lot of colors. And well, we're down to the last nation. And well, that's not enough color to even do this. Well, now to color in the islands. And I think a green nation, this nation should be green. With one nation not so happy about it, if you are. And well, with this nation fearing collapse, as they get pro them insurgents in the northern areas become pro to this green nation. And well, there's some resistance, taking out two pockets of rebels. But they managed to launch another offensive, a successful one. And they also launched one over here, with the rebel group over here gaining territory, and them advancing south. With the purpley nation, it's very light, so it's not really purple, pushing back over here. and over here. But quickly more rebels show up in the north, with them being much quicker to act and being better supplied than earlier rebels who managed to help complete an encirclement. But these forces are pushed back, but they don't dare cross the territory knowing they need to fight back. But unifying into one army, even though it's rebels in the army. And who knows about rebels, as they manage to occupy the northern part. And then they make a spearhead over here, making this nation have to surrender basically there. Well, capital is on the other coast and they advance towards it. As the protection of the capital becomes a priority, they push the forces back. But by doing this, they lose control on this front, and the Green Nation manages to get some more rebels that support them. Yes. And then the capital gets encircled and taken. And now to select all and annex it. That's all they had to do. With the nation going to war again, being this nation deciding to take over this area. And quickly they have successful advances. As they advance close to taking all the coast, a counter-offensive is launched. But the counter-offensive doesn't really achieve anything. Well, then they make another offensive into the center of this country. As they manage to take it out, I need to name these countries soon. I don't want to give wacko names like I did in the South America forming civilization video. With them fighting, I'll launch a counter-offensive down here and over here. But finally, these forces meet up with the Green Nation's border over here, splitting this nation in two. As the capital is located over here, and they manage to take it, leading to this area collapsing. And with half the nation gone, knowing they'll be annexed, they keep fighting. But they're failing to achieve anything. As two fronts open up against them, basically, two spearheads. And their capital over here manages to get encircled with the siege happening. Yes, I have two major cities. Definitely not basing it off a nation that actually exists there. As they annex it all, now they're powerful. They think that'll protect them from that nation, but will it actually? Who knows? And well, this nation, seeing the Green Nation that once occupied them, not wanting that to happen again, they launch a preemptive invasion. Yes, basically. With this nation launching a counter-offensive, but not the one that leads to their victory. Well, this nation decides to dive in to get to the capital. But rebels mess with the supply lines. And behind the front, there's a few rebels. They continue their offensive while also trying to push the rebels back. The rebels being pushed completely back in one area. But more rebels show up. Yes, more rebels. And they get their front joint. And this nation has to retreat from two fronts because of risk of encirclement. As they get pushed back and back. Now they're across the border. With them not being able to gain their rebels, to get rebels to help them. In another way, they're not winning this. With this nation being a mimicker of the Green Empire, but not really. It wanted to recreate it, yes. They're managing to reach the Caspian Sea, but, yeah, they get pushed back. With them launching a nice offensive across the coast. With this nation deciding to surrender and get good terms. But how good are the terms? With them deciding to annex not all the coastline, but most of it, in this peace treaty, all the way down to here. And then they annex in a bit, as they build the border like this. It's agreed upon because the other nation couldn't continue the fight. But the other nation didn't know, so it wasn't too harsh. Well, a few nations get re-annexed. This nation, as they collapse economically. And then they invade this nation, which they aren't the only nation to start invading stuff. Well, I feel like the best color for this nation's this one. So this nation decides to invade this nation. And then they invade another nation, yes. Got that right, everyone's invading someone. This nation expanding into here knowing it's not a great idea. But they do it. They manage to pull it off. With the Red Nation deciding to launch some invasions to territories. Not territories, countries. And annexing it all. And they also have one over here. With them all expanding, yes, them all. As I'm not ready to kick the Orange Nation out. Yes, the Orange Nation still has colonies. Well, yeah. Now to press select all. So I can select all of those borders and get rid of them. Because they are not needed anymore. Well, unless nations want to create puppet states, but I don't think they would. Because that's not much expansion. Well, this nation annexes all, forming an empire, basically. They want something to be able to do against them, basically. Well, a purple nation invades back to its territory. Oh, height. Well, everyone doesn't like this, though. No one is a fan of this nation's expansion, though. And they don't like that. They don't care, too. That's another thing. And well, that's pretty much all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, and not only subscribe. Bye, guys!